Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed that how you start your morning shapes your entire day? If you wake up rushed, anxious, and distracted, everything seems to spiral. But when you wake up with peace, gratitude, and faith, suddenly doors open, strength flows, and the impossible becomes possible. The secret to a blessed day begins the moment you open your eyes. Before the phone, before the news, before the world demands your attention, pause, acknowledge God. Whisper, "Thank you for this new day. Thank you for another chance to walk in your light." The way you begin your morning has the power to shape the entire course of your day. From the moment your eyes open, you are setting into motion a chain of thoughts, emotions, and actions that will ripple through every hour that follows. It is in those quiet first moments, when the world has not yet pressed its weight upon you, that the foundation of your day is laid. If you wake up with worry, rushing through thoughts of what must be done, burdened by the stress of yesterday, or the fear of tomorrow, then chaos begins to weave itself into your spirit. But if you wake up with peace, gratitude, and the acknowledgement that God is with you, then your day begins on a foundation of strength, stability, and hope. That first moment becomes the seed, and like every seed, it grows according to its kind. Think about mornings when you woke up late, already behind schedule, your heart racing as you tried to catch up. How did the rest of that day feel? Likely disorganized, overwhelming, and full of pressure. The energy of your morning seemed to spill over into every task, every conversation, every interaction. The same is true in the opposite direction. On the days when you began with calmness, prayer, or gratitude, you carried a sense of peace into the hours ahead. The challenges still came, but your ability to handle them was different. The difference was not necessarily in the events themselves, but in the spirit you carried into them. This is why beginning the day with God is not a ritual to be taken lightly. It is the key that unlocks balance, direction, and inner strength. Morning is a sacred threshold. It is the transition between the rest of night and the activity of day. At this threshold you choose the lens through which you will see the world. Will you look through the lens of fear, doubt, and pressure, or through the lens of faith, gratitude, and divine trust? That choice often feels small, yet it becomes the filter through which everything else is experienced. A person who wakes up complaining will find endless reasons to continue complaining. But a person who wakes up with gratitude will see blessings where others see only burdens. This is not mere psychology. It is spiritual law. You reap what you sow in the morning as the field where the first seeds are sown. Imagine a builder who begins laying the foundation of a house without care, cutting corners, ignoring details, no matter how beautiful the structure appears later. It is only as strong as what was said at the beginning. In the same way, your day is only as stable as the foundation you build in the morning. If you start with God, you are building on rock. If you start in distraction, fear, or negativity, you are building on sand. The storms of the day will come either way, but what you build on will determine whether you stand or collapse. There is something profoundly spiritual about the early morning. The stillness, the quietness, the gentle light of dawn, all speak to the soul in ways the noise of midday cannot. It is as though creation itself whispers, "Here is a new chance. Here is a fresh start." To miss that moment is to miss the invitation God offers each morning. A chance to reset, to realign, to reconnect. If you wake up and rush past that sacred space, you are like someone who passes by a well in the desert without drinking. The well is there filled with refreshment, but you leave thirsty simply because you did not pause. This is why it is said that the morning belongs to those who rise with purpose. When you open your eyes and immediately give thanks, Even in a whisper, you acknowledge the giver of life. Gratitude opens the door to peace. It shifts your focus from what you lack, to have from what you fear to what you trust. A grateful heart creates fertile ground for blessings to manifest. Beginning your day with God is not simply about reciting words. It is about tuning your spirit to the frequency of divine presence. Aligning your thoughts with truth rather than illusion. Consider the times when you woke up with a heavy heart. The moment you chose to pause and say, "God, I place this day in your hands." Something within you shifted. The weight did not disappear instantly, but the burden felt lighter because it was shared. That is the power of starting with God. You are not entering the day alone. You are acknowledging that you are guided, supported, and strengthened by a force greater than yourself. This awareness changes how you approach every challenge. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with faith. Instead of feeling abandoned, you walk with assurance. There is also a practical dimension to how mornings shape your day. The mind, when it first wakes, is highly impressionable. It is like soft clay, ready to be molded. The first thoughts you entertain begin to solidify into patterns that guide your mood and decisions. If you fill those first minutes with negativity, scrolling through bad news, comparing yourself on social media, or rehearsing anxieties, your mind becomes conditioned to stress. But if you fill those first minutes with prayer, scripture, affirmations, or silence in God's presence, your mind becomes conditioned to peace and strength. What enters first often lingers longest. That is why many who live with intention guard their mornings as sacred. They refuse to give the first part of their day to the world, because they know the world will take all it can and leave them empty. Instead, they choose to give the first part of their day to God, because they know He fills, He restores, He strengthens. This principle has echoed throughout history. Those who seek God early find wisdom, direction, and protection that carries them through. To begin your day with God is to declare even silently that you will not be ruled by circumstances. It is to proclaim that your peace is not dictated by the noise around you, but by the presence within you. It is to step into the flow of grace rather than the chaos of the world. When you begin in this way, the challenges that once seemed overwhelming become opportunities to trust, to grow, and to see God's hand at work. Each day is like a blank canvas. What you paint on it begins with the colors you choose in the morning. Choose fear, and the picture will be dark and heavy. Choose faith, and the picture will be bright and hopeful. The brush is in your hand the moment you wake. How you use it is up to you. Starting with God ensures that no matter what unfolds, the masterpiece will carry His touch. Before the noise of the world rushes in, before the endless scroll of notifications, headlines, and messages demands your attention, there is a quiet and holy moment in the morning that belongs to you and to God. What you do in that sacred space determines whether you carry peace into your day or whether you surrender it to distraction before you even begin. Many people open their eyes and reach instantly for their phones as if the world's urgency deserves the first moment of their existence. Yet in doing so, they hand over their thoughts, their emotions, and even their spirit to voices that pull them in 100 directions. The news may end fear. Social media may stir comparison. Emails may awaken pressure. And suddenly, before your feet even touch the floor, you are already burdened. The morning which was meant to refresh you becomes the moment you lose your strength. To begin with God instead of distraction is to recognize the order of things. God is the source of life, the one who gave you breath this morning. If He gave you another sunrise, then surely the first acknowledgement belongs to Him. When you start with God, you are saying, before I listen to the world, I will listen to you. Before I place myself in the chaos of voices, I will center myself in your presence. This simple choice has profound power because it anchors your spirit in truth before lies have the chance to sway you. Think of it like setting the compass of your day. If you set your compass early, everything else you encounter is guided by that direction. If you fail to set it, you drift. And drifting often leads you to places you never intended to go. Anxiety, discouragement, anger, hopelessness. But when you begin with God, you align your heart with His guidance. Even if the winds of the day blow hard, the compass keeps you steady. Many people underestimate how impressionable their minds are in the first moments of waking. The mind is open, unguarded, and receptive. What enters at that moment tends to stay longer and go deeper. That is why advertisers fight for your attention first thing in the morning. That is why the world pushes endless notifications at you. Because whoever captures your morning captures your focus. But what happens when God is the one you give your morning to? Instead of worry, you receive peace. Instead of fear, you receive courage. Instead of confusion, you receive clarity. That is the exchange. When you begin with Him, you take hold of blessings the world cannot provide. Picture a king who has invited you into his chamber at dawn. Would you first check your messages or scroll through idle words while he waits? No. You would honor the invitation, knowing that this audience with the king sets the tone for all that follows. Each morning, God Himself extends such an invitation. He whispers through the silence of dawn, "Come sit with me. Let me fill your heart before the world empties it. Let me strengthen you before life tests you." Ignoring that call is like turning away from the very strength you need most. The phone, the news, the demands of others, they will still be there after you've centered yourself in God. But when you give them the first place, they steal what was meant to be sacred. You begin reactive instead of proactive. You carry heaviness instead of hope. You walk into your day already drained rather than filled. It is no wonder so many live constantly tired, anxious, or unsettled. They are feeding their spirit on distractions instead of on divine presence. When you choose God first, you're not just setting aside time. You are declaring a priority. You are saying, "My spirit comes before my schedule. My peace comes before my performance. My connection with the eternal is greater than the temporary pulls of the world." This declaration empowers you. It sharpens your perspective. Suddenly, the problems that once felt overwhelming shrink in the light of His presence. Suddenly, the pressures that seemed unbearable are put into perspective because you see them through His strength rather than your own weakness. There is also a practical discipline here. Starting with God requires intention. It means resisting the urge to reach for distraction. It means placing your Bible, your journal, or even just a quiet moment of prayer ahead of everything else. At first, it may feel small or even difficult, because the world has trained you to respond to its constant calls. But over time, you will notice the difference. Your mind will feel clearer. Your emotions will be steadier. Your spirit will be stronger. The battles of the day will not shake you as easily because you have already filled your heart with truth. Those who live with peace in this restless world are not those who escape problems, but those who anchor themselves before problems arrive. That anchoring happens in the morning, in those first decisions of attention and focus. If you give your first attention to God, you are filled with wisdom for the decisions that will come later. If you give your first attention to distraction, you are drained before the day has even begun. Consider the life of someone who begins with distraction every day. Their emotions are shaped by headlines, by others' opinions, by the endless noise of the world. They often feel restless, insecure, or easily swayed. Now consider the life of someone who begins with God. Their emotions are steadied by peace, their mind sharpened by truth, their heart strengthened by assurance. They walk differently, not because life is easier, but because they are centered in something unshakable. Every morning is a test of what you value most. Do you value the world's chatter or God's whisper? Do you value temporary noise or eternal truth? Do you value busyness or presence? The choice is yours, and it repeats with each sunrise. One leads to restlessness. The other leads to blessing. One scatters your focus. The other centers it. One leaves you empty. The other fills you to overflow. The beauty is that you don't need hours or elaborate rituals to begin with God. Sometimes it is as simple as taking a deep breath and saying, God, thank you for this day. Guide me, strengthen me, and let me walk in your will. Sometimes it is reading a single verse and holding it in your heart. Sometimes it is sitting in silence, allowing your spirit to rest in His presence. The form matters less than the focus. The key is that God comes first before distraction has the chance to lead you astray. This practice may feel small in the moment, but its effects compound. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and a life rooted in beginning with God becomes a life of peace, strength, and steady purpose. The world may still be loud, but it no longer has the power to rule your spirit. You walk through it anchored because you chose Him first. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces that can transform the way you live. And beginning your day with it sets in motion blessings you cannot measure. When you wake and the very first thought that crosses your heart is thank you, you align yourself with the truth that life itself is a gift. Gratitude is not merely polite manners or a fleeting emotional reaction to something nice. It is a posture of the soul, an orientation that recognizes God as the source of every breath, every opportunity, every provision, every sunrise. The foundation of a blessed day is built upon gratitude, because gratitude unlocks joy and joy strengthens you to face whatever lies ahead. When you rise in the morning and fail to recognize the gift in front of you, the day often feels heavy. You can be surrounded by blessings but blind to them, because your focus is on what you lack, what went wrong yesterday, or what you fear might go wrong today. Gratitude removes that veil. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from complaints to thanksgiving, from fear to faith, and what you choose to focus on multiplies. If you focus on lack, you see more lack. If you focus on blessings, you see more blessing. Gratitude is the lens that reviews the goodness already around you. Consider the act of waking up itself. You opened your eyes today, which means life has been extended to you again. Millions did not see this sunrise, but you did. That alone is enough to pause and whisper thanks. The bed you slept in, the roof covered you, the air that filled your lungs. These are not small things. They are daily miracles. Gratitude trains the heart to stop overlooking what has become routine and recognize it as divine provision. What others may treat as ordinary, the grateful soul sees as extraordinary. Gratitude also transforms the way you deal with challenges. Life will never be free of problems, but gratitude changes your posture toward them. Instead of asking why me, you begin to ask what can I learn? How can I grow? What good might be hidden here? Gratitude doesn't ignore pain or deny difficulty. It simply refuses to let those things define the entire picture. Even in hardship, gratitude finds reasons to praise. It sees God's hand sustaining you even when the path is rough. It focuses on the blessings that remain instead of the ones that seem absent. That shift in focus doesn't just comfort you. It empowers you. It gives you strength to endure, patience to wait, and hope to keep moving forward. The human mind is naturally drawn to problems, to what is missing, to what is wrong. Gratitude retrains it to dwell on what is right. Every time you intentionally give thanks, you are rewiring your inner life. Science itself confirms what the spirit has always known. Grateful people live healthier, calmer, more joyful lives. They sleep better, stress less, and experience deeper satisfaction. Why? Because gratitude reorients the heart away from fear and anxiety and toward peace and contentment. There is a spiritual law at work in gratitude. When you give thanks for what you have, you make room for more to be given. A grateful heart is open, receptive, and expectant. It acknowledges that every good gift comes from above, and in acknowledging that, it invites more blessings to flow. But when you live in complaint, you block that flow. Complaining focuses on what is missing, and in doing so it multiplies your sense of lack. Gratitude focuses on what is present, and in doing so it multiplies your sense of abundance. It is not that life suddenly becomes easier. It is that your spirit becomes stronger, and in that strength blessings are drawn to you. Morning is the most powerful time to plant seeds of gratitude, because what you plant first tends to color the entire day. If you start with complaint, the day feels heavy from the beginning. But if you start with gratitude, you carry a lighter spirit, and that lightness influences every interaction, every decision, every thought. Gratitude in the morning is like setting a melody that the rest of the day follows. It becomes the rhythm of your steps and the tone of your words. There is also humility and gratitude. To give thanks is to admit that you are not the sole source of your blessings. It acknowledges dependence on something greater than yourself. This humility protects you from pride and keeps your heart tender. Pride says, "I earned this. I deserve this. I did this on my own." Gratitude says, "Everything I have is a gift, and I am thankful to the giver." That humility draws favor because God resists the proud but pours grace upon the humble. Gratitude is the soil where grace grows. Imagine starting your day with a list of thanks. Thank you for waking me. Thank you for my health. Thank you for the people I love. Thank you for the opportunities before me. Thank you for the lessons of yesterday. Thank you even for the challenges because they are shaping me. By the time you finish, your heart is already lighter, your mind clearer, your perspective brighter. You have shifted from scarcity to abundance before stepping out the door. And when life meets you with its inevitable demands, you are already prepared, already strengthened, already grounded. Gratitude also opens your eyes to small details others miss. You notice the beauty of a sunrise, the laughter of a child, the kindness of a stranger, the taste of food, the sound of music. Life becomes richer because you are paying attention. The more you pay attention, the more reasons you find to give thanks. Gratitude multiplies not just blessings, but awareness of blessings. It makes the invisible visible and the ordinary extraordinary. Some days gratitude feels effortless. Blessings are obvious and abundant. Other days, gratitude is a choice, an act of faith. On those harder days, gratitude becomes even more powerful, because it is then that you declare trust in God's goodness despite what you see. Gratitude in difficulty is not denial. It is defiance. It is the soul standing firm, saying, "I will not be ruled by fear or despair. I will see the good. I will trust in hope. I will believe that God is working even now." That kind of gratitude strengthens the heart beyond measure. Over time, gratitude becomes not just a practice but a way of living. It shapes how you see people, how you handle work, how you approach challenges, how you respond to victory. A grateful heart cannot be easily shaken because it has learned to anchor itself, not in circumstances, but in divine provision. Gratitude is a shield that protects bitterness, jealousy, and despair. It is the secret ingredient that makes a life not just bearable but beautiful. This is why gratitude is the foundation of a blessed day. It prepares your heart to receive, your eyes to see, and your spirit to rejoice. It turns the simple act of waking up into an act of worship. It turns each breath into a reminder of grace. It turns the day ahead into not just another obligation to endure, but a gift to be embraced. And when gratitude forms the foundation, the house of your life stands firm no matter what the day brings. Starting with God brings strength in a way nothing else can. Life is full of challenges, both big and small, that demand energy, focus, and resilience. On your own, these demands can feel overwhelming. You may wake up thinking of the tasks ahead, the problems you must solve, the uncertainties looming over you, and the weight begins pressing down before you even get out of bed. But when you begin your day with God, you invite into your life a source of strength that is beyond your own. You draw from a well that never runs dry, from a power that cannot be shaken, from a peace that passes understanding. This strength is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to walk through without being broken. There are mornings when you wake up already tired. The body is weary, the mind is cluttered, and the heart feels heavy. The temptation is to lean on coffee, motivation, or distraction to push through. But these only carry you so far. They give temporary boosts that fade quickly. God's strength, however, is enduring. It carries you through the whole day because it flows from an unchanging source. When you pause in the morning and surrender your weakness to Him, you exchange it for His strength. This divine exchange is the secret of endurance. You no longer depend on your own limited energy, but on His unlimited supply. Strength from God is not always about physical power. Often it is about inner resilience. It is the calm in the middle of a storm, the courage in the face of fear, the patience in the middle of delay, the hope when everything around you seems uncertain. When you start your day with Him, you set your soul on solid ground. That stability allows you to face the shifting circumstances of the day without crumbling. It gives you the ability to reach challenges with wisdom instead of panic, with faith instead of despair. Think of a tree with deep roots. The wind may blow, the rain may fall, but the tree stands because its roots are anchored. Starting your day with God sinks your roots deeper into His presence. When the winds of the day come, and they always do, you are not easily moved. Others may wonder how you remain steady while everything around you seems uncertain. The answer is not your own willpower. It is the strength of the one you started with. This strength also manifests in clarity. Life can be confusing, filled with decisions that feel overwhelming. When you begin with God, you quiet the noise long enough to hear His direction. That clarity saves you from wasted effort, from going down paths that drain you, from choices that leave you weaker. His guidance strengthens you by keeping you aligned with purpose. You conserve your energy for what truly matters, rather than scattering it on distraction. Starting with God also strengthens relationships. When you are filled with His presence, you carry patience, kindness, and compassion into your interactions. Without that, the stress of life can easily make you sharp, irritable, or impatient with others. But when His strength fills you, you are slower to anger, quicker to forgive, and more gracious in your words. This is not weakness. It is the strength of self-control, the strength of love, the strength to build rather than to tear down. There is also strength in knowing you are not alone. One of the heaviest burdens people carry is the feeling that they must handle everything by themselves. But when you start with God, you remind yourself that you are partnered with the Creator of heaven and earth. That awareness alone lightens the load. You can say, "I may not know what this day holds, but I know who holds me." That assurance is like armor. It doesn't remove the battle, but it makes you able to stand firm in it. Sometimes strength is found not in doing more, but in resting in God's presence. In a world that glorifies business, starting with Him teaches you the power of stillness. That stillness is not laziness. It is renewal. Just as muscles must rest to grow stronger, your spirit must pause in Him to gain strength. By choosing to begin your day with quiet time in prayer, scripture, or simple reflection, you are recharging your soul. You walk into the day not drained but filled. Strength from God is also creative. It gives you fresh ideas, new perspectives, and unexpected solutions. Problems that seemed impossible suddenly reveal opportunities. Closed doors no longer paralyze you, because His strength gives you the courage to knock again, or to find another path. That kind of creativity is not born of anxiety but of peace. When your heart is calm, when your mind is steady, when your spirit is anchored, solutions rise naturally. The strength you gain from starting with God also sustains you through temptation. Every day brings moments when you are tempted to compromise, to cut corners, to give in to fear, to choose the easy path instead of the right one. On your own, resistance is difficult, but with His strength, you have the power to say no to what weakens you, and yes to what aligns with your higher calling. This moral and spiritual strength preserves your integrity, and integrity is a foundation that no storm can erode. Even in sorrow, God's strength sustains you. Life brings losses, disappointments, and pain that no human strength can bear alone. But when you begin your day with Him, you receive the strength to endure grief without being destroyed by it, to face heartbreak without losing all hope, to walk through valleys with the assurance that you are not abandoned. That strength is not loud or flashy. It is quiet and steady like a hand, holding yours when you feel like falling. Many people look at strong individuals and think their strength comes from discipline, confidence, or natural ability. But those who truly carry unshakable strength know it comes from a deeper place. They draw from a well that never runs out because they start each day dipping into it. They begin with God, and in doing so they access a power greater than themselves. This is why you sometimes see people with little in the eyes of the world. Yet they radiate peace and courage. Their secret is not in what they possess, but in who possesses them. Every day requires strength, but not every strength is equal. The strength of the world fades quickly. The strength of God grows as you lean on it. It does not depend on circumstances or feelings. It is constant, available, and sufficient. When you start your day by connecting with that source, you equip yourself for anything the day may bring. And when the day ends, you will find that you are not depleted but sustained. Because the same God who gave you strength in the morning has carried you all the way through. Each sunrise is a fresh page, a brand beginning written into the fabric of life. Every morning when light breaks through the darkness, it whispers of mercy, renewal, and opportunity. Yesterday may have been heavy with mistakes, disappointments, or regrets, but today arrives clean and unmarked. It does not carry yesterday's stains unless you choose to drag them along. The beauty of life is that God has built into it a daily rhythm of renewal. With each sunrise, He hands you a blank page and asks, "What will you write on it today?" So many people wake up imprisoned by the past. They carry yesterday's arguments into today's conversations, yesterday's failures into today's efforts, yesterday's fears into today's possibilities. Instead of embracing the new page, they keep scribbling the same old story. But the truth is each day stands alone. What happened yesterday is not a prophecy of what must happen. Today, the mistakes of the past do not have the power to define the present unless you give them permission. The fresh page of today is yours to write differently. Think about the symbolism of dawn. Night is often associated with difficulty, fear, uncertainty, pain, the things that are hidden. But morning always comes. No night lasts forever. No darkness can keep the sun from rising. Each morning is a reminder that no matter how long or difficult your night has been, light is on the way. Just as the sun rises faithfully, so too does God's mercy. It renews every day. Not because you earned it, but because He freely gives it. That is the greatest evidence that each day truly is a new page. You do not have to pay for it with guilt or effort. You simply receive it and decide how to use it. The idea of a fresh page is powerful because it means you are not trapped. Life can sometimes feel like a cycle of repetition, as though you are doomed to repeat the same patterns endlessly. But a new day means a new chance. You can make a different decision. You can speak a different word. You can take a different action. Change does not always happen in leaps and revolutions. Often it begins with one small choice made on a new morning. One new word of kindness, one moment of forgiveness, one step of courage. It all begins with the fresh page in front of you. Carrying the past into the present is like trying to write a new story on a page already filled with old scribbles. It confuses the words, muddles the message, and weighs the paper down. But when you allow yesterday to stay behind, today becomes crisp, clear, and full of possibility. This does not mean denying what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It means acknowledging it, learning from it, and then choosing not to live the noonday you have been given. Each sunrise also comes with responsibility. A blank page is a gift, but it also asks for intention. What will you write? If you let fear, bitterness, or resentment hold the pen, your page will fill with shadows. But if you let gratitude, faith, and love guide your hand, your page will reflect beauty. What you do with today shapes not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. The fresh page is not just for you. It is an opportunity to be light in someone else's darkness, to speak life into someone else's heart, to add goodness to the story of the world. Think of all the great stories of redemption in history and in your own life. They all began on a fresh page. The addict who chose sobriety began on a new morning. The broken relationship that found forgiveness began on a new day. The weary soul that decided to try again instead of giving up began with the sunrise. This is why each day matters. You never know what shift, what breakthrough, what miracle might begin on the page you are handed today. Sometimes people hesitate to embrace the fresh page because they fear failing again. They think, what's the point of starting over if I might fall back? But the fresh page is not about perfection. It is about progress. Falling yesterday does not mean you cannot rise today. In fact, the act of rising is itself part of the new story. The page does not demand flawless writing. It simply invites honest, hopeful words. Even small victories written consistently will eventually create a masterpiece. There is also a freedom that comes with knowing yesterday is gone. You are not defined by your worst moments. You are not imprisoned by your past choices. You are not locked into the identity others gave you because of what you once did. With each sunrise, you are free to grow, to change, to choose differently. That freedom is one of the greatest gifts God has given humanity. The ability to begin again, not once or twice, but every single day. The sunrise does not ice your permission to shine. It simply rises. In the same way, God's mercy comes whether you feel ready for it or not. There will be days when you wake up still tired, still hurting, still doubting, and yet the page is blank all the same. Even when your spirit feels heavy, the invitation is there. Even if all you can write on the page today is, I will not give up, that is enough. Tomorrow will bring another page, another chance, another sunrise. To fully embrace the fresh page, you must also be willing to let go of what no longer serves you. Old grudges, toxic thoughts, self-condemnation. These cannot belong in the story you are writing today. They belong to yesterday, and yesterday has passed. Letting go is not always easy, but it is essential if you want to fill the new page with something better. The hand cannot grasp new blessings if it is clenched tightly around old burdens. Imagine if you lived fully aware that every morning is a reset, that no mistake of yesterday has the right to poison today, unless you allow it. How different would your life look? How much more peace would you carry? How much more courage would you display? The sunrise is a gentle reminder that God has already built renewal into the rhythm of your life. You just have to step into it. Each sunrise is more than light filling the sky. It is a message written across creation itself. Begin again. No matter what you face, no matter what you've done, no matter how heavy yesterday was, today is a gift of mercy. Take the page in your hand. Do not waste it with regrets or complaints. Write faith upon it. Write love upon it. Write gratitude upon it. And when the sun sets, you will look back and see not just another day gone, but another day well lived. Another page written with purpose. Another step in the story of a life blessed by new beginnings. Your mind is a garden, and every thought you allow to take root becomes a seed that grows into something tangible in your life. You may not always realize it, but each day as you think you are planting. Some seeds are small, like fleeting worries, passing doubts, or quick sparks of gratitude. But even the smallest seed can grow into something that shapes your world. If you are not intentional about what you plant, weeds will grow by default. The mind, like the soil, does not remain empty. It will always produce something. And what it produces depends on what you allow inside. When you wake up in the morning, you are standing in the garden of your mind with a packet of seeds in your hand. The question is, will you plant seeds of fear or seeds of faith? Will you allow the thorns of worry to choke out your peace, or will you nurture blossoms of gratitude that brighten every corner of your day? What you choose to dwell on is what you cultivate. And what you cultivate eventually bears fruit in your words, actions, and outcomes. This truth is seen everywhere in life. People who live in constant negativity often find that negativity follows them. It's not that the world singles them out, but that their thoughts create an atmosphere in which negativity thrives. On the other hand, those who focus on gratitude, hope, and faith seem to carry a light that attracts blessings. The mind is the fertile ground where both possibilities exist. And the seeds you nurture determine the harvest you reap. Think of a physical garden. A gardener does not simply hope that something good will grow. They plant with intention. They prepare the soil, choose the right seeds, water them daily, and pull up weeds before they can spread. In the same way, you must tend to your mind with purpose. You cannot allow every random thought, every word of criticism, every fear-driven idea to bury itself in your soil. If you do, it will crowd out the life you want to grow. Instead, you must be deliberate. Meditate on truth, affirm faith, and keep your mind aligned with what uplifts and strengthens. Weeds are persistent both in gardens and in minds. Doubts, fears, regrets, and toxic voices can quickly overtake the beautiful things you are trying to cultivate. The moment you leave your mind unattended, weeds begin to grow. That is why vigilance matters. When a negative thought enters, don't let it stay. Replace it with something life-giving. Just as a gardener immediately pulls out the weed before it spreads, you must uproot toxic thinking before it takes over. This is not about pretending bad thoughts don't exist. It is about refusing to let them dominate your inner world. Consider how a single seed can multiply. One thought of discouragement, if nurtured, can lead to despair. One thought of anger, if replayed, can grow into bitterness. But one seed of faith, if watered, can grow into courage that carries you through storms. One seed of gratitude, if cultivated, can bloom into joy that sustains you even in hard times. The small beginnings matter because they always grow bigger. Your harvest tomorrow begins with the seeds you allow today. It is also important to recognize the power of environment. A garden grows best in the right conditions: sunlight, water, care. Your mind is no different. What you expose yourself to becomes nourishment for your thoughts. If you constantly feed on negativity through the words you hear, the media you consume, or the company you keep, you are watering weeds. But if you feed your mind with uplifting truth, wisdom, faith-filled words, and positive influences, you are watering flowers. You cannot expect to grow peace while watering fear, nor can you expect to grow faith while feeding on doubt. Another truth about the mind as a garden is patience. A gardener does not see fruit the day after planting seeds. It takes time. The same is true of your thoughts. One day of affirmations will not instantly erasers of negative thinking, but consistent care, daily planting of good seeds, and faithful weeding of the bad eventually transform the entire landscape of your mind. You may not notice the change at first, but over time, peace takes root where anxiety once lived, hope replaces despair, and strength flourishes where weakness used to grow. Every harvest also benefits others. A fruitful garden feeds not only the one who planted it, but also those who come near. When your mind is filled with peace, you bring peace into your relationships. When your thoughts overflow with love, your words and actions spread that love to others. A neglected weed-filled mind, however, often spills bitterness and negativity into every environment. What you cultivate within yourself becomes what you give to the world. Your private thoughts eventually become public fruit. Guarding your garden is essential. Just as a gardener protects their plants from pests and storms, you must protect your mind from influences that seek to destroy what you are growing. Sometimes this means setting boundaries with people whose words constantly poison your soil. Sometimes it means limiting what you allow into your mind from outside sources. Protecting your inner garden is not selfish. It is wise stewardship. A healthy, well-tended mind allows you to show up fully in life, strong and fruitful for others as well. There is also beauty in knowing that no garden is beyond restoration. Even if you have neglected your mind for years, even if weeds of fear and regret have overtaken everything, you can begin again. You can clear the ground, plant new seeds, and nurture new growth. It may take time, but renewal is always possible. The soil of your mind is never permanently ruined. It simply awaits new planting. This truth offers hope to anyone who feels trapped by their thoughts. Change is possible. Growth is possible, and a new harvest is possible if you choose to begin tending your garden today. Imagine for a moment that you treated your thoughts with the same care as a prized garden. Imagine waking up each morning, walking into the soil of your mind, and choosing to plant gratitude, faith, hope, and love. Imagine carefully pulling out every thought of doubt, every root of fear, every creeping vine of bitterness before it could spread. Imagine faithfully watering your mind with prayer, reflection, and truth. Over time, your life would be filled with the fragrance of peace, the beauty of joy, and the strength of faith. Others would notice. They would come near to taste the fruit of your garden, to be nourished by the wisdom and love flowing from within you. Your mind is the garden where your life story begins. The thoughts you choose to plant today become the harvest you will eat tomorrow. If you want joy, plant gratitude. If you want peace, if you want strength, plant faith. The soil is ready. The seeds are in your hand, and the harvest depends on what you choose to grow. Plant faith, not fear. For whatever you plant in your heart and mind will eventually take root and grow into the life you live. Faith and fear are both seeds. They cannot coexist in the same soil without one eventually choking out the other. Every day you are faced with a choice. Will you allow fear to dictate your thoughts, actions, and decisions? Or will you plant faith and allow it to guide you toward peace, courage, and blessing? The direction of your life depends on which seed you nurture. Fear comes naturally to the human heart. It sneaks in through uncertainties, whispers through what-ifs, and clings tightly to past wounds. Fear if you fail. What if you lose everything? What if you're not enough? Left unchecked, fear takes root like a weed, spreading through every part of your life until it suffocates joy, peace, and hope. It grows quickly because it feeds on doubt, comparison, and insecurity. And the more you dwell on fearful thoughts, the stronger their grip becomes until your mind is entangled in vines that keep you from moving forward. Faith, on the other hand, is a deliberate choice. It does not always feel natural, especially when circumstances seem bleak, but it has the power to transform everything. Faith says, even if I don't see the way yet, I believe a way will open. Even if the storm rages, I trust that I am protected. Even if the door seems closed, I believe another one will open. Faith is not denial of difficulty. It is confidence that difficulty will not have the final word. Planting faith means choosing trust when fear would rather take control. The act of planting faith requires intention. Just as a gardener selects good seeds and places them carefully into the soil, you must intentionally sow words of belief and hope into your life. Speak them aloud. Write them down. Remind yourself of them. When fear tries to shout louder, fear thrives in silence. But faith grows when it is voiced. A declaration of trust can shift the atmosphere of your mind. No matter how dark things feel, every time you choose to declare faith instead of rehearsing fear, you water the seed of courage within you. Fear always shows up with an argument. It says, "You failed before, so you'll fail again." Faith responds, "Though I've fallen, I can rise again." Fear says, "The world is too uncertain to risk stepping out." Faith replies, "The one who holds tomorrow also holds me." Fear says, "You are too weak, too broken, too small." Faith declares, "In my weakness, strength is made perfect." When fear offers a narrative of defeat, faith offers a narrative of victory. The seed you choose to agree with determines the story you live. Many people don't realize how much of their life is shaped by the seeds they plant daily. Fear-driven seeds grow into anxiety, procrastination, indecision, and missed opportunities. Faith-driven seeds grow into bold steps, peace in the midst of storms, and breakthroughs that once seemed impossible. Your words, actions, and mindset all spring from the root system you nurture. That is why it is vital to pull up fear the moment it appears and replace it with seeds of faith. Fear shrinks your world while faith expands it. Fear keeps you standing on the shore, afraid to step into the water. Faith dares to launch into the deep, trusting that the waters will hold you. Fear paralyzes you with endless questions about the future. Faith reminds you that you don't need to know every detail. You only need to trust the next step. Fear tells you to hide while faith empowers you to shine. The difference between a life constrained by fear and a life freed by faith is the willingness to plant and nurture the right seeds. It is not that fear will never knock at your door again. It will, but planting faith means choosing which voice you will let inside. It means deciding that fear will not have the authority to dictate your choices. When you face challenges, fear will offer one path. Retreat, worry. Faith will offer another: move forward, trust. Hope. Every time you choose faith, you strengthen its roots in your life. Over time, the garden of your heart becomes so filled with faith that fear loses its grip. Planting faith also changes how you see your circumstances. Where fear sees obstacles, faith sees opportunities. Where fear sees endings, faith sees new beginnings. Where fear sees lack, faith sees provision. It is not about ignoring reality, but about interpreting it through the lens of trust rather than dread. Two people can face the same situation, one ruled by fear and the other rooted in faith, and their experiences will be entirely different. One will crumble while the other will rise. Faith is also contagious. When you plant it in your own life, others around you begin to see it, feel it and catch it. Your courage inspires their courage. Your peace calms their storm. Your hope awakens their own. Just as fear can spread like wildfire, so can faith. And when you choose to plant faith consistently, you become a source of light, not just for yourself, but for those who walk beside you. There will be times when fear seems easier to plant because it often demands less of you. It doesn't require trust. It requires surrender to worry. Faith, however, asks for patience, persistence, and a willingness to believe in what is not yet seen. It requires you to water your trust daily, even when results are not immediate. But the harvest of faith is always greater than the harvest of fear. Fear may bring temporary safety, but faith brings lasting strength, growth, and peace. Even in the smallest things, the principle holds true. A fearful thought about your health can spiral into despair, while a faithful thought can empower you to take positive steps. A fearful thought about your finances can lock you in scarcity, while a faithful thought can open doors of provision and creativity. A fearful thought about your future can paralyze you, while a faithful thought can energize you to move forward with confidence. Every seed counts, and every choice between fear and faith shapes your life. The beauty of planting faith is that it does not require perfection. You may still feel fear knocking at times, but planting faith means deciding not to give it power. You may stumble, but faith gives you the courage to get back up. You may not see the results instantly, but faith teaches you that growth is happening beneath the surface. Every step of faith you take strengthens your roots until one day you look back and realize fear no longer rules your life. Plant faith, not fear. Plant trust, not worry. Plant courage, not doubt. What you cultivate will determine the life you live, and the harvest of faith is always worth the effort. Morning practices matter because they create the foundation upon which the rest of the day is built. The first thoughts you think, the first words you speak, the first actions you take upon waking, all have a ripple effect that shapes your mood, energy, and perspective for hours to come. Too often, people underestimate the power of beginnings. They roll out of bed, check their phones, scroll through distractions, and rush into the chaos of the day without pausing to set their inner compass. Yet, if you begin your day with intention, you set a direction that carries you through challenges with greater strength and clarity. Think of the morning as the opening chapter of a book. If the first lines are heavy, chaotic, or confusing, the whole story feels that way. But if the opening is filled with clarity, purpose, and light, the entire narrative flows differently. The way you begin does not guarantee what will happen later, but it deeply influences how you respond to it. This is why morning practices matter. They are not about controlling the external world, but about preparing your inner world to face whatever comes. The morning is also a sacred time because it holds silence that the rest of the day often steals away. Before the phone rings, before the demands of work and family, before the world crowds in, there is a quiet space where your heart and mind are most open. In those early moments, what you choose to fill yourself with seeps deeply into your spirit. A rushed morning filled with worry, news, or social media noise plant seeds of distraction and unrest. A morning rooted in prayer, reflection, gratitude, or stillness plants seeds of peace and alignment. What you plant in that silence will echo through every conversation, decision, and thought that follows. Consider how different your day feels when you start with gratitude. Taking even a few moments to breathe deeply and say, "Thank you for this new day." Shift your focus from lack to abundance. Gratitude awakens joy. It reminds you that life itself is a gift and that no matter what lies ahead, you have already been given more than you deserve. That one shift of perspective changes how you see challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" gratitude whispers, "What can I learn? What can I give? How can I grow?" A grateful morning sets a resilient tone that fear and negativity struggle to penetrate. Another powerful practice is to ground your thoughts in truth before the world can feed you lies. The world will constantly tell you that you are not enough, that you must strive harder, that you must compare yourself to others. But if in the morning you anchor yourself in affirmations of worth, strength, and divine guidance, you carry a shield against those voices. Saying aloud, "I am guided. I am equipped. I am loved. I am capable," may seem simple, but it is planting seeds that grow into confidence and courage throughout the day. Without such practices, you walk into the world unarmed, and the weeds of doubt grow easily. Stillness itself is also a practice worth cherishing. In a culture obsessed with productivity and busyness, pausing in the morning to simply breathe and be present is revolutionary. Sitting in silence, meditating on peace, or simply acknowledging the gift of life centers, you stillness becomes a reservoir you draw upon when the chaos of the day threatens to overwhelm you. Those who neglect stillness often find themselves scattered, reacting to circumstances rather than responding with wisdom. But those who practice stillness in the morning carry an inner calm that guides them like an anchor in the storm. Journaling or reflection is another way morning practices shape the heart. Writing down your thoughts, prayers, or intentions clears the clutter of your mind and directs your focus. It is like cleaning the lens of a camera so the picture is clear. Without such reflection, your day can feel blurred, weighed down by unprocessed worries and distractions. But when you begin by articulating your hopes, naming your fears, and declaring your goals, you give yourself a roadmap for the hours ahead. You know where your heart stands before the world tries to sway it. Morning practices are not about length, but about consistency. Even 5 minutes spent intentionally can transform the direction of a day. Many think they don't have time, yet they spend those same minutes scrolling through meaningless noise. The truth is, you always have time for what matters. And few things matter more than aligning your spirit at the start of the day. Those who commit to daily morning practices often discover that their days feel longer, lighter, and more purposeful. Not because circumstances changed, but because they changed the way they entered them. When you neglect morning practices, you leave the door wide open for fear, stress, and distraction to set the tone. When you embrace them, you close that door and step onto a path of intentional living. Imagine two people beginning their days. One rushes out the door, mind clouded with worry, heart already anxious from reading headlines, body tense from rushing. The other wakes up slowly, breathes deeply, thanks God for the gift of life, affirms their strength, and sets a quiet intention for peace. Both will face challenges that day, but their experiences will be worlds apart. The second will meet difficulties with resilience and perspective, while the first will crumble more easily under the weight. The difference lies not in the day itself, but in the morning practices that framed it. Even physical practices like drinking water, stretching, or walking in the morning light carry spiritual weight. They tell your body and mind, "I honor this vessel. I prepare it for the day ahead." When you neglect such practices, your body drags, your energy dwindles, and your focus falters. But when you care for yourself intentionally, you create harmony between body, mind, and spirit that amplifies everything else you do. The power of morning practice is cumulative. One morning of gratitude may not seem life-changing, but 1 year of daily gratitude transforms your entire perspective. One morning of reflection may not solve every problem, but 1 year of reflection creates clarity and wisdom you never thought possible. These practices are like drops of water. They may feel small, but over time they carve rivers of strength, peace, and purpose into your life. Your mornings are too precious to waste on chaos. They are the foundation upon which every day is built. Each sunrise offers you a choice: to drift aimlessly into distraction, or to step intentionally into alignment with peace, purpose, and strength. What you do with those first moments matters. They are the steering wheel that directs your entire day. To neglect them is to hand control to fear and randomness. To embrace them is to reclaim your power and step into each day already anchored in truth. Morning practices matter. They shape not just your hours but your habits, your mindset, and your destiny. The seeds you plant in those first quiet minutes will grow into the fruit you eat by evening. Choose carefully. Plant with intention. Water your spirit early, and you will reap a harvest of peace, strength, and joy that carries you not just through the day, but through life. Daily declarations shift perspective, because the words you speak have the power to reframe how you see yourself, your circumstances, and your future. What you say each day is not just sound. It is say. Every declaration plants an idea in your heart and mind, and over time those seeds grow into the reality you live. If your daily words are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, you will live in the shadow of those beliefs. But if your words are filled with faith, gratitude, and confidence, you will walk in the light of those truths. Declarations are not empty affirmations. They are acts of alignment. They align your mind, spirit, and heart with the reality you want to live, instead of the one fear tries to impose on you. When you begin your day with declarations, you take authority over the narrative of your life before the world has a chance to write it for you. The world will always try to fill your mind with noise, negative headlines, toxic opinions, whispers, and inadequacy. But your declarations act as a shield, reminding you of who you are and what you stand for. Saying, "I walk in peace today," does not mean chaos won't appear. It means chaos won't define you. Saying, "I am strong and capable," doesn't mean weakness won't knock. It means weakness won't take over. Your declarations tell your mind what story to believe, and your mind responds by shaping your behavior, your choices, and your perspective in alignment with those words. Many people underestimate the power of spoken words because they don't see immediate change. But just like a seed, declarations need time to grow. You don't plant a tree and expect fruit overnight. You water it daily, trusting the unseen process happening beneath the soil. The same is true for declarations. Each time you speak words of faith, you are watering unseen roots of courage, peace, and clarity. Over time, those roots grow strong enough to carry visible fruit in your life. The transformation is often gradual, but it is real. Fear, on the other hand, thrives on silent agreement. When you rehearse negative thoughts in your mind, but never replace them with declarations of faith, fear settles in. It becomes the dominant narrative because you never countered it. But when you declare truth, you disrupt fear's hold. You break the silence with words that remind you of your strength, your purpose, and your divine support. Fear cannot thrive where faith is spoken. Every declaration you make is an act of resistance against the weeds of worry and doubt. Declarations also shape perspective by training your focus. Human beings are wired to see more of what they look for. If you declare, "This will be a difficult day," your mind begins scanning for evidence to confirm it. If you declare, "I will find joy today," your mind shifts to notice moments of joy. What you declare becomes notice, and what you notice becomes the story you live. This is not blind optimism. It is intentional focus. Life always offers both challenges and blessings. But declarations help you magnify the blessings instead of being consumed by the challenges. Daily declarations also break cycles of negative self-talk. Many people carry inner voices that tell them they are not enough, that they always fail, that nothing will ever change. These voices are often inherited from past experiences, criticism, or trauma. Left unchallenged, they become the soundtrack of one's life. But when you begin declaring the opposite, "I am worthy, I am growing, I am capable of change," you introduce a new soundtrack. Over time, that new voice grows louder than the old one. Declarations don't just change how you see the world. They change how you see yourself. There is a spiritual dimension to declarations as well. Words carry energy. When spoken with belief, they not only influence your inner world, but also align you with opportunities and outcomes in the outer world. People who consistently declare positivity often notice doors opening, connections forming, and solutions appearing. It is not magic, it is alignment. Your words influence your posture, your confidence, and your actions, which in turn influence how others respond to you and what opportunities you attract. A person who walks into a room declaring internally, "I have nothing to offer," carries an energy of death. A person who declares, "I carry wisdom and value," walks in differently, speaks differently, and is received differently. Consistency is the key to the power of declarations. Saying something once does little, but speaking truth daily, over weeks, months, and years rewires your mind and strengthens your perspective. This is why they must become a practice like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast. A declaration is not a one-time event, but a daily discipline. Even on days when you don't feel the words, saying them still plants seeds. Some mornings you will declare, "I am strong," while feeling weak, but those words will still work within you, slowly transforming your perspective until one day the strength you declared becomes the strength you live. Declarations can also become anchors during storms. When life is uncertain, fear shouts louder, and it's easy to lose perspective. But if you have built a habit of declaring truth daily, you will have words ready to stand on. In moments of fear, you will remember, "I have already declared that I am not alone." In moments of lack, you will recall, "I have declared that provision finds me." These anchors keep you steady when circumstances try to pull you. Undeclarations remind you of truths that circumstances cannot erase. What you declare daily also affects the people around you. Words are contagious. If you are constantly declaring defeat, discouragement, and fear, those near you will feel the weight of it. But if you declare hope, peace, and courage, others will be uplifted. Your declarations not only shift your perspective, but ripple outward into your relationships, workplaces, and communities. You become a carrier of the atmosphere you create with your word. Daily declarations do not require complexity. They require sincerity and consistency. A few words spoken from the heart can shift your entire mindset. Phrases like, "Today I choose peace," or "I walk in strength," or "Blessings are coming my way," may seem simple, but simplicity is often what makes them powerful. Their repetition makes them familiar, and their familiarity makes them transformative. The more you declare, the more your mind embraces the reality of what you say. Even science confirms the power of words. Studies on neuroplasticity show that repeated thoughts and spoken affirmations create new neural pathways in the brain. This means that daily declarations literally reshape how your brain functions. They are not empty words. They are rewiring tools. By choosing what you declare, you choose what mental patterns you strengthen. Over time, your default responses shift from fear to faith, from worry to peace, from defeat to victory. Daily declarations are about perspective, and perspective is everything. The same situation can look like a problem to one person and an opportunity to another, depending on the lens through which they see it. Declarations polish your lens each morning, ensuring you see with clarity, faith, and hope. They remind you that while you cannot always control circumstances, you can control how you perceive and respond to them. That shift in perspective is often the difference between a life weighed down by fear and a life lifted by faith. Speak daily declarations. Speak them when you feel strong and when you feel weak. Speak them when the sky is clear and when storms rage. Over time, you will see that your words have become your reality. Your declarations have become your perspective, and your perspective has become your life. Divine alignment is not simply about positive thinking or good habits. It is about placing your heart, mind, and spirit in agreement with the greater order of life. When you live in alignment, things flow differently. You stop striving against everything, and instead you move in rhythm with something larger than yourself. This alignment brings peace, clarity, and strength that cannot be manufactured by human effort alone. Many people live out of sync, chasing after their own plans, resisting the nudges of their spirit, ignoring the whispers of truth. The result is exhaustion, confusion, and the sense that life is always uphill. But when you wake up and intentionally align yourself with God, with truth, with purpose, the uphill climb becomes a steady walk, and the burdens that once felt crushing no longer weigh the same. To live in divine alignment means choosing to see your life as part of a bigger design. It is realizing that your steps matter. But the decisions you make are not isolated, but part of a pattern that carries meaning beyond what you can see. The shift of perspective brings stability. When you know you are aligned with something greater, you no longer panic when circumstances don't go according to your immediate desires. You begin to trust that there is timing, order, and a deeper wisdom at play. That trust becomes an anchor in the chaos of the world. Alignment begins with surrender. Not the kind of surrender that makes you weak, but the kind that sets you free. Each morning when you rise, you have a choice to fight for control of every detail or to align yourself with a higher will that sees the full picture. When you surrender in alignment, you declare that your life is not random, that your steps are guided, and that you don't need to have all the answers to move forward. This surrender creates space for peace. It quiets the noise of constant worry and opens your spirit to direction. Many people think alignment is passive, as though it means doing nothing and waiting for everything to fall into place. But alignment is active. It requires daily intention. It means adjusting your thoughts, actions, and words so that they line up with the principles of truth and the values you claim to live by. It is like tuning an instrument. If one string is off, the music doesn't sound right. When your heart, mind, and actions are tuned to different things, fear, pride, or distraction, you will feel out of sync. But when you take time each day to tune yourself, to bring every part of you into harmony with God's rhythm, your life produces a melody that is both powerful and peaceful. This alignment is not about perfection. No one lives every moment in complete harmony. Instead, it is about awareness. Each morning is a chance to realign, to correct the drift that happens naturally when life's pressures push you off balance. If you begin your day in prayer, reflection, and openness, you set a compass. Even if you stumble throughout the day, that compass draws you back to alignment. Without this intentional start, it's easy to lose direction and end the day wondering how you drifted so far from peace. Divine alignment also changes how you interpret challenges. When you are out of alignment, every obstacle feels like punishment or misfortune. But when you are aligned, you begin to see obstacles as teachers, as opportunities to grow, or as redirection to something better. You no longer react with despair. You respond with trust. This doesn't mean you enjoy difficulties, but it means they don't destroy you. You understand that alignment with God's order doesn't remove hardship, but equips you to walk through it with grace and faith. Living in alignment also opens your eyes to guidance. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right words often come when you are aligned. Not because they weren't there before, but because you are now in the right place to see and receive them. Alignment clears the fog. What once looked like coincidence now looks like confirmation. What once felt like confusion now feels like clarity. This guidance doesn't always come with thunder or lightning. Often it comes as quiet assurance, small nudges, or a sense of peace that tells you you're on the right path. When you are aligned, you also notice that your energy shifts. Instead of pouring effort into everything and getting little in return, you begin to work in flow. Your actions carry more impact because they are supported by purpose. Things that once drained you now feel lighter because you are no longer pushing against the current. You are moving with it. This is why people in alignment often seem to accomplish more with less struggle. It's not that life is easier. It's that they are not wasting energy fighting battles they were never meant to fight. Alignment also brings integrity. It means living in such a way that your thoughts, words, and actions match. When you declare peace but live in chaos, you are misaligned. When you declare trust but constantly feed fear, you are misaligned. Alignment calls for honesty with yourself, a willingness to confront the areas where you are divided, and the courage to bring them back together. This integrity creates strength. People who are aligned in heart and action walk with a quiet confidence that others can feel. Another gift of alignment is perspective on timing. In misalignment, impatience rules. You want everything now and waiting feels unbearable. But alignment teaches you that timing is part of the design. Just as a seed cannot rush its harvest, you cannot force outcomes before their season. This doesn't mean sitting idle. It means moving faithfully while trusting the process. It means doing your part each day, then releasing the rest into hands wiser than your own. Alignment relieves you from the stress of forcing and replaces it with the peace of trusting. Divine alignment also simplifies life. Out of alignment, you juggle conflicting priorities, chase after approval, and scatter your energy in too many directions. In alignment, you find clarity about what matters most. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on the path meant for you. This clarity doesn't eliminate responsibility, but it helps you carry it with focus and strength. You no longer live from reaction, but from intention. Alignment is about union. It is about uniting your daily life with eternal truth, uniting your actions with your beliefs, uniting your desires with your higher calling. This union creates harmony within and around you. It influences how you love, how you work, how you speak, and how you carry yourself in the world. When you live in divine alignment, you carry peace wherever you go. Not because life is without challenges, but because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstance. Chaos turns to clarity when you learn to anchor yourself in a deeper place of peace. Instead of being swept away by the noise of life, chaos is not always about external circumstances. It often begins inside the mind. Thoughts rush in from every direction. Worries pile up, responsibilities press on you, and suddenly you feel like you're standing in a storm without shelter. But clarity does not come by trying to control the storm. Clarity comes when you learn to calm the storm within. When your inner world is aligned, chaos loses its power to overwhelm you. Every day you are bombarded with voices. The voice of fear, the voice of expectation, the voice of comparison, the voice of doubt. When you try to listen to all of them, you end up in chaos. But when you choose to silence the noise and focus on truth, the fog begins to lift. Clarity is not always about having all the answers, but about knowing which voice to follow. The world shouts, but clarity often whispers. It requires stillness, patience, and trust. Chaos often exaggerates reality. When you're in a chaotic state, small problems feel like mountains, delays feel like disasters, and mistakes feel like the end. But clarity puts things back into perspective. It reminds you that problems can be solved. Delays are detours, not dead ends, and mistakes are lessons, not life sentences. Clarity restores proportion. It allows you to see things as they really are instead of how fear paints them. When you live in clarity, you stop reacting and start responding. In chaos, reactions are impulsive, fueled by panic or frustration. In clarity, responses are measured, guided by wisdom instead of emotion. The difference is profound. Reactions often create more chaos, while responses calm situations. Clarity gives you the space to breathe before speaking, to pause before acting, to think before deciding. That pause, that breath, becomes the doorway to peace. Chaos thrives on distraction. It feeds on scattered focus, pulling you in 100 directions at once. Clarity brings focus back to what truly matters. It teaches you to ask, what is essential right now? What is noise? And what is truth? When you answer those questions, priorities shift suddenly. Not everything is urgent. Not everything demands your energy. Not everything deserves your worry. Clarity is the ability to separate the essential from the trivial and to pour your energy into what lasts. You don't always get clarity instantly. Sometimes it emerges slowly, like dawn breaking through the night. At first you see only shadows, but if you wait, the light grows and the path becomes clearer. This waiting can feel uncomfortable, but it is part of the process. Clarity cannot be forced. It unfolds. The discipline is in learning to be still long enough to let it appear. Many people run from stillness, filling every moment with noise and activity. But stillness is where clarity is born. There is also a humility required for clarity. Chaos often grows when you believe you must control everything, fix everything, and know everything. Clarity can accept that you are guided, that there is wisdom beyond your own, and that it is safe to lean into it. In that surrender, the mind rests. Rest clears away confusion like sunlight burning through fog. It doesn't mean you stop moving. It means you stop striving blindly and start walking with direction. Clarity also has a way of simplifying decisions. Chaos tells you that every choice is overwhelming, that one wrong step will ruin everything. But clarity whispers that you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. Often clarity doesn't reveal the entire plan. It reveals just enough for today, and that is enough. When you trust each step, clarity grows as you move forward. What once looked impossible becomes manageable when broken down into clear, simple steps. Another gift of clarity is peace in relationships. Chaos in the mind often spills into how you interact with others. Miscommunication, assumptions, and unspoken fears can create unnecessary tension. But when you are clear within yourself, you can communicate more openly and listen more deeply. Clarity allows you to see people not as threats or obstacles, but as fellow travelers. It gives you patience with their imperfections and grace for their mistakes. When your heart is clear, you no longer carry resentment like a bird. Clarity is also deeply tied to vision. In chaos, you can't see beyond the present storm. Your future feels blurred, your dreams feel distant, and your purpose feels unreachable. But clarity sharpens vision. It reminds you why you began, what you are moving toward, and what your life is meant to be. Vision cuts through the noise, giving meaning to your efforts and direction to your steps. Without clarity, you drift. With clarity, you move with intention. Chaos often leaves you drained, but clarity restores energy. Confusion is exhausting because it scatters your mind and divides your focus. But clarity concentrates your energy. It's like trying to light a fire. When sparks are scattered, they fade. But when they are focused, they ignite. Clarity gathers your inner resources, channels them toward purpose. This is why people in clarity often feel renewed even in difficult circumstances. Their energy is no longer wasted on endless worry, but directed toward meaningful action. One of the most profound aspects is ability to transform fear into faith. Chaos magnifies fear because it thrives in uncertainty. But clarity reveals that uncertainty does not equal danger. It often equals possibility. Where chaos says this is the end, clarity says this could be the beginning. Where chaos says you are lost, clarity says you are being redirected. Fear shrinks when clarity expands, because clarity reveals the truth that was hidden beneath fear's exaggerations. Clarity also makes room for creativity. In chaos, your mind is too cluttered to imagine or innovate. But when clarity comes, ideas flow, solutions appear, and inspiration returns. Clarity frees mental space for creation. It reminds you that even in difficulties, there is room to build, to dream, and to create something new. Many breakthroughs come not from moments of chaos, but from moments of clarity. When the noise has settled and the mind can finally breathe, clarity strengthens resilience. When you know who you are, what you believe, and where you are going, chaos cannot easily uproot you. Challenges may bend you, but clarity keeps you rooted. It gives you the perspective to endure storms without losing hope. You may not always control the storm, but with clarity, you can control your response, your focus, and your inner peace. That steadiness is what turns chaos into clarity. Faith unlocks blessings because it shifts the way you see, think, and move through life. Blessings are often already present, waiting to be recognized or received. But fear and doubt act like closed doors that keep them hidden. Faith is the key that opens those doors. When you live with faith, you walk with an expectation that goodness is possible, that opportunities exist, and that solutions can appear. Without faith, even the greatest blessing can sit right in front of you unnoticed. With faith, you begin to see pathways where others see dead ends, light where others see only shadows, and possibilities where others insist there are not. Faith is not blind hope or wishful thinking. It is confidence in the unseen, trust in the process, and assurance that what you are walking toward will unfold in its time. It's believing that there is provision in the wilderness, strength in weakness, and direction in confusion. Faith does not mean that everything will always go the way you expect, but it means you are open to receive the good that comes, even if it arrives in unexpected ways. Many people miss blessings because they only look for them in one form. Faith teaches you to remain open, knowing that blessings may come disguised as lessons, detours, or even losses that later reveal hidden gain. When you live with faith, you change your posture. You no longer carry yourself as someone waiting for life to defeat you, but as someone expecting life to unfold in your favor. That posture influences how you approach challenges. Instead of shrinking back, you lean forward. Instead of fearing rejection, you pursue opportunities. This boldness opens doors because blessings often require action. Faith energizes you to take steps you might otherwise avoid. And those steps lead you into places where blessings are waiting. Blessings are not only material or external. Some of the greatest blessings are internal. Peace in the middle of chaos, joy that cannot be stolen, strength when you feel weak, clarity when others are confused. Faith unlocks these internal blessings by shifting your perspective. Fear says you are trapped while faith says, there is a way. Fear says, this is the end while faith says, this is the beginning. These inner shifts are blessings themselves because they empower you to walk through life with resilience, confidence, and hope. Faith also unlocks blessings in relationships. When you live with trust, you interact with others from a place of openness instead of suspicion. You forgive more easily, listen more deeply, and give more freely. This creates stronger connections and deeper bonds. The blessing of love, friendship, and community flows more easily when faith removes the walls that fear builds. Many relationships break, not because of external conflict, but because fear closed the heart. Faith keeps the heart open, and an open heart becomes a magnet for genuine connection. Faith shifts how you see setbacks. What looks like loss to someone without faith can become a setup for growth to someone with faith. For example, losing a job without faith feels like the end of stability. But with faith, it becomes the opening for new opportunities. Perhaps even something greater than what was lost. Faith does not deny pain, but it refuses to let pain be the final word. This mindset attracts blessings because it positions you to keep moving, to keep searching, and to keep believing until breakthrough comes. One of the most powerful aspects of faith is that it creates vision. Fear narrows your view. Faith expands it. Where others see scarcity, faith sees abundance. Where others see walls, faith sees doors. Where others see failure, faith sees lessons that will eventually lead to success. Vision is a blessing because it pulls you forward. It gives you the ability to endure today's struggles because you can see tomorrow's promise. Without vision, people give up too soon. With vision, they endure. And endurance often reveals blessings that would have remained hidden to those who quit early. Faith also influences your words, and words carry creative power. When you speak with faith, your declarations align with blessings. You begin to say, I will overcome. I am growing stronger. I trust provision will come. These words plant seeds, and over time they grow into reality. Fear-driven words plant weeds of doubt that choke possibility. But faith-driven words cultivate a harvest of blessing. The mouth often speaks what the heart believes. And when the heart believes in blessing, the mouth declares it and life responds. Faith unlocks blessings by shifting your energy. People who walk in fear often carry heaviness. Their posture, tone, and presence reflect defeat. But those who walk in faith carry a different energy, an energy of expectancy and hope. This energy draws others in, inspires confidence, and opens doors that might remain closed to someone who walks in despair. Opportunities are often attracted not only by skill, but by the energy you bring. Faith gives you the kind of presence that invites favor. Blessings also flow through persistence, and faith fuels persistence. Without faith, the first obstacle feels like the end. With faith, the obstacle is just a bend in the road. Faith keeps you moving when progress feels slow, when results seem delayed, when doors appear closed. That persistence often uncovers blessings, hidden just beyond the place where most people give up. Faith is what keeps you digging until you strike the treasure. And the treasure is often closer than it looks. Faith not only opens blessings for you, but for others through you. When you live with faith, your courage inspires those around you. Your hope lifts those who are sinking. Your persistence encourages those who are weary. You become a blessing simply by carrying faith. Sometimes the blessing you unlock is not just for yourself, but for your family, your community, or even strangers who are touched by your example. Faith multiplies blessings because it spreads beyond you. The absence of faith does not mean blessings don't exist. It simply means you can't access them. It is like standing in a room full of light with your eyes closed. The light is there, but without opening your eyes, you remain in darkness. Faith is the act of opening your eyes to the light that is already present. It changes nothing about the light itself. It changes everything about your ability to see it. Blessings are already woven into the fabric of life. But faith is the awareness that allows you to experience them. Faith unlocks blessings by transforming your relationship with the unknown. The unknown is often the greatest source of fear. But faith reframes the unknown as a place of potential instead of threat. It tells you that just beyond the horizon, something good can emerge even if you don't yet see it. This perspective fills you with courage to walk forward, and it is in the unknown that many of the greatest blessings lie. Without faith, you never take the steps that lead you there. With faith, you step out. And in stepping out, you discover what was waiting for you all along. Ending the day with peace is as important as beginning the day with intention. Each evening carries within it the opportunity to release the weight you've carried, to lay down the burdens of the hours behind you, and to enter into rest with a calm spirit. Too many people carry the noise of the day into the night, the regrets, the conversations they replay in their minds, the unfinished tasks, the fears about tomorrow. This constant cycle robs them of true rest. But peace at the end of the day is a choice, a discipline, and a gift. It requires that you draw a boundary between what has passed and what is to come, between what you can control and what you must let go. Ending the day with peace does not mean the day was perfect. In fact, some of the hardest days can end with peace if you know how to surrender. Peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of stillness within struggle. To end the day with peace means you decide not to carry unfinished battles into the night. You choose to set them down, trusting that tomorrow carries its own provision and solutions. There is wisdom in recognizing that rest is not wasted time but a vital part of renewal. When you close your day with peace, you position yourself to wake up with fresh strength. One of the most powerful ways to end your day with peace is through gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what went wrong to what went right, from what you lack to what you still have. Even in difficult days, there are moments of light. A kind word, a breath of air, a glimpse of beauty. By reflecting on these before you sleep, you quiet the restless mind. Gratitude doesn't deny challenges, but it ensures challenges don't define your day. You may not have everything you wanted, but you can acknowledge the blessings that appeared, however small. And in doing so, your spirit relaxes into peace. Forgiveness also plays a crucial role in ending the day with peace. Many people lie awake not because of what they did, but because of what others did to them. They replay offenses, hurts, and disappointments, keeping their hearts tied to anger. But forgiveness releases that grip. It doesn't excuse the wrong, but it frees you from reliving it endlessly. When you forgive before you sleep, you remove the poison of resentment from your spirit. You tell yourself, "This will not follow me into tomorrow." That release creates peace that no amount of distraction can replicate. Peace at night also comes from acceptance. There will always be unfinished tasks, unanswered questions, unresolved problems. If you demand that every loose end be tied before you rest, you will never rest. But when you accept that some things must remain unfinished for now, you give yourself permission to rest without guilt. Peace is found in the humility of knowing did what you could with the day given, and the rest belongs to time. Acceptance allows you to lay your head on the pillow without the endless weight of what if and what next. Stillness is another pathway to peace. The world rarely encourages stillness. Instead, it fills every moment with screens, noise, and activity. But stillness at night is powerful medicine. It allows your body to slow, your mind to clear, your heart to settle. Even a few moments of silence before bed can reset your inner rhythm. In stillness, you remember that you are not defined by constant productivity. You are not only a doer, you are a being. That recognition itself brings peace, because it reminds you that your worth is not tied to your endless output. Ending the day with peace also means choosing the story you tell yourself. The mind is a storyteller, and at night it loves to replay the script of the day. If you focus only on mistakes, missteps, and regrets, you carry those stories into your dream. But if you reframe the story, choosing to see growth in mistakes, resilience in missteps, and lessons in regrets, you end the day on a different note. The story you fall asleep to becomes the lens through which you wake up. Peaceful stories create peaceful rest, and peaceful rest creates a peaceful morning. Physical rituals can also support peace. Simple acts like dimming the lights, slowing your breathing, stretching your body, or sipping something warm signal to your mind that it's time to release the day. These rituals are not trivial. They anchor the spirit. Just as the body recognizes the routine of waking in the morning, it can learn the rhythm of resting at night. A peaceful body supports a peaceful mind, and together they prepare you to end the day without tension. Ending the day with peace does not mean ignoring tomorrow. It means entrusting tomorrow to its own place. Writing down tasks or intentions for the next day can be a way to release them from your mind. Instead of worrying about forgetting, you place them on paper, knowing you can return to them later. This practice tells your brain it doesn't need to keep cycling through to-do lists in the middle of the night. By preparing lightly for tomorrow, you free yourself to be present in the peace of tonight. Peace at night also comes from trust. Trust that you are carried. Trust that life is bigger than your efforts. Trust that even in the unseen, things are moving on your behalf. Without trust, nights are filled with anxiety. But with trust, nights are filled with rest. It is an inner knowing that even as you sleep, the world does not stop and provision continues to flow. You do not need to hold everything together. You are free to release your grip and let peace hold you instead. Another aspect of ending the day with peace is self-compassion. Many nights are restless because people torment themselves with guilt and shame over what they didn't do or what they did wrong. But self-compassion allows you to speak to yourself with kindness. I did my best with what I had today. I will try again tomorrow. That inner kindness removes the weight of harsh judgment and allows the spirit to rest. Peace grows where self-condemnation ends. Ending your day with peace also means creating space for reflection. A short review of the day can be powerful. Not to criticize but to learn. Ask yourself, what did I give today? What will I carry forward? This reflection transforms the day into wisdom, and wisdom brings peace. It allows you to see that even the hardest days are not wasted. They are woven into your growth. Reflection helps you close the day not with frustration, but with gratitude for its lesson. Peace is both a practice and a gift. You cannot always control what happens during the day, but you can control how you close the day. By choosing gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, stillness, and trust, you build an evening ritual that calms your spirit. This peace is not just for the night. It prepares you for the dawn. To end your day with peace is to declare that your spirit is greater than your struggles. Your rest is more valuable than your worry. And your tomorrow will be brighter because you chose to release today. Consistency is the thread that weaves every blessing of life together. It is not the grand gestures that transform a life, but the small, steady, repeated choices made over and over again. People often search for secrets, for shortcuts, for dramatic shifts that will change everything overnight. Yet, the truth is that the most powerful transformations are hidden within the ordinary moments that are repeated daily. The secret to a blessed day, and truly a blessed life, lies in what you choose to do consistently. What you practice becomes who you are, and who you are shapes the outcomes you experience. The challenge with consistency is that it demands patience. We live in a world that celebrates instant gratification and quick results. But life does not work on the schedule of impatience. Seeds do not sprout the same day they are planted. A tree does not bear fruit the moment it takes root. Yet those who commit to tending the soil, watering, and waiting are the ones who eventually enjoy the harvest. Consistency works the same way in life. Each morning you wake up with intention. Each prayer you whisper, each act of kindness you extend, each step of discipline you take. It may seem small in isolation, but over time these small acts accumulate into extraordinary outcomes. The danger many face is underestimating the power of the little things. Missing one morning of prayer feels harmless. Skipping one moment of gratitude doesn't seem to matter. But it is rarely one skid act that alters the direction of life. It is the habit of neglect. Just as consistent discipline builds strength, consistent neglect weakens the foundation. What you repeat becomes your rhythm, and your rhythm becomes your destiny. This is why the secret is consistency, because consistency defines the path even when you do not notice it. Consistency also brings clarity. The more you repeat something, the more it becomes natural, the less resistance you feel toward it. Think of the person who struggles to rise early. At first, every morning feels like a battle against the bed. But after weeks of consistency, rising early no longer feels like war. It becomes rhythm. The same is true with gratitude, with meditation, with self-discipline, with kindness. Consistency rewires your habits until what was once difficult becomes effortless. And it is in this effortlessness that freedom is found. The things you struggled to maintain become the very things that sustain you. Another gift of consistency is trust. When you live consistently, people know what to expect from you. Your words carry more weight because they are not just spoken once but lived daily. Relationships thrive when consistency is present because it builds reliability, and even beyond relationships with others. Consistency builds trust within yourself. Self-trust is one of the most overlooked strengths a person can possess. When you keep your word to yourself consistently, you begin to believe in your own strength. You no longer question whether you can follow through, because your daily record proves that you can. That inner trust becomes a well of confidence that overflows into every area of life. Consistency is not about perfection. Many resist the idea because they think it means never missing a step, never faltering, never making mistakes. But consistency is about persistence, not perfection. It is about returning again and again to what matters. Even when you fall, even when you miss a day, even when you stumble, you choose to return. Consistency is not broken by a single failure. It is broken only when you quit altogether. The secret then is not to strive for flawless performance, but to cultivate a resilient return. Consistency also multiplies impact. Think of a drop of water falling onto a stone. One drop may not change much, but countless drops over time carve valleys and smooth edges. Your consistent actions, though they may feel small, shape the contours of your life in ways that nothing else can. A kind word spoken consistently to someone can heal wounds that no single act could. Daily discipline toward a goal can create accomplishments that sudden bursts of energy never will. When you show up consistently, your efforts compound. What begins as a small action turns into a force that cannot be ignored. There is also a spiritual rhythm in consistency. When you wake each day with the intention to align yourself with truth, with goodness, with purpose, you create a rhythm that resonates beyond yourself. You are not only shaping your own life, you are aligning with the greater harmony of life itself. The universe responds to consistency because it reflects faithfulness. Just as the sun rises each morning and the tide follows its rhythm, your consistent devotion signals stability and strength. You are declaring through your actions that you are rooted and steady, and that declaration invites greater blessings into your path. But consistency requires sacrifice. It asks you to choose discipline over convenience, faith over doubt, persistence over comfort. It asks you to continue even when results are not immediate, even when no one else sees your effort. The secret is that consistency is often unseen in the beginning. No one applauds your early mornings, your whispered prayers, your acts of kindness when no one notices. Yet these unseen choices are the very foundation of visible blessings later. The consistency you practice in private eventually manifests in public fruit. Consistency also creates resilience. Life will not always follow the smoothest path. There will be storms, setbacks, disappointments, but consistency prepares you to withstand them. A tree with shallow roots is easily toppled by the wind, but a tree with deep roots developed slowly over time can endure. Consistency deepens your roots. It trains you to stand firm when challenges come. Because you have practiced discipline day after day, you are not easily shaken. You have built strength in the ordinary moments that equips you for the extraordinary challenges. What consistency demands most is commitment to the process, not the outcome. Too often people give up because they do not see results quickly. But consistency shifts the focus from outcome to process. You show up each day, not because you demand immediate transformation, but because you trust the process of showing up will eventually transform you. This trust keeps you steady even when change seems invisible. And then one day you look back and realize that the small actions you barely noticed have built a life you once only dreamed of. The beauty of consistency is that it is accessible to everyone. Not everyone can make grand sacrifices. Not everyone can give extraordinary gifts. But everyone can choose to show up consistently in small ways. It is the great equalizer, the force that allows ordinary people to create extraordinary lives. The most blessed people are not always the most talented, the most wealthy, or the most connected. Often they are simply the most consistent. The ones who did not stop showing up, who did not quit on the process, who kept planting seeds long enough to see the harvest. So the secret is consistency, because it bridges the gap between where you are and where you long to be. It takes the vision in your heart and transforms it into reality through repeated faithful steps. It reminds you that greatness is not achieved in one grand leap, but in the steady march of daily commitment. Consistency is not glamorous. It rarely feels dramatic, but it is powerful, unstoppable, and transformative. The life you dream of is waiting on the other side of your consistency. And the secret to a blessed day is found in the small, steady choices you make every single morning. If there is one truth to carry with you, it is this. Life does not change in a single moment of inspiration, but in the quiet persistence of consistent action. Each sunrise gives you another chance to align, to show up, to take one small step forward. Do not despise the ordinary routines, for they are the bricks that build extraordinary destinies. The power is not in doing something, but in doing it faithfully even when it feels unseen. Keep planting, keep showing up, keep pressing forward. Because consistency is the secret that unlocks blessings too great to measure. And when you look back one day, you will realize that it was not luck, not chance, but your daily faithfulness that built the life of abundance and peace you now enjoy. Stay consistent, and you will live consistently blessed.